Because most of the works here, you must become delegates here for the third coming of Comrade Pule. And we're saying, comrades, in conclusion, we appreciate the fact that all of you came here on Sunday. You left your churches to come here to show that you love the ANC and you support the leadership of the ANC. We know yesterday, I go to shouting ngoma, mere busy, me thousand gopu. Mara mzemi kota kuta na mutala on the basis that you are showing force to the third coming of Comrade Pule and the African National Congress in Phalabora. Comrades, you must take note, when you go back, let us go back and unite all our sub-regions for the sake of the ANC. The ANC is in crisis, comrades. We have seen a lot of things that we don't know here in the region. We have seen a lot of things. But comrades, you must know that here in the ANC, no one has more power than the African National Congress. And no one must think that a deployment position of the ANC will never call you back. Myself as a speaker, my time is ending with the chief whip after 2026. It's not given that will come back. It's the ANC that must assess our work and say you are coming back. So comrades, you must know, we must never stop to fight up until the total liberation of this region. Amanda.
Amanda! Away, two. Comrades Mchabisik, thanks for the message of support. Comrades, in 2007, some of us were not proponents of the third coming of Comrade Thabo Mbeki. As Comrade Mchabisik was narrating the third coming of Comrade Pule, I was not a proponent of that. No Ofsted Matawat. But I want to take you to 2007. Hey, Ralwa man. Hey, Ralwa man. Ranchas Talifi man. Rancha munna mawe ogo man. Hey? Rancha munna mawe ogo man. Rachelantunga toji bidi man. Lukhoni yar tswing. Sometimes that coming is correct, eh? Liyogoncha munna mawe ogo limisha guy. Comrades, let's move straight to the ANC Women's League, please. Where is the Women's League? So, Amanda! Sorry, comrades. We have just been graced once again by leaders of our region. We have just been joined by the Secretary of Markshop sub-region of the ANC, the treasurer that I've served with is also here. We've also been joined by the regional chairperson of the ANC Youth League in the region. We've also been joined by the secretary, Joe Mati is the chairperson. We have also been joined by the secretary of the Youth League, Comrade Thabang Mokawana, who's not a stranger to you. We once led the sub-region here in Ba-Phalaborwa before he moved back to Maruling. We have also have our own from Ba-Phalaborwa, Comrade Deputy Secretary is also here of the region ANC Youth League. We're also finally joined and will parade there. She must just salute you because I didn't want the rest to salute you to have taken loss. An RWC member of the African National Congress in the region, and also a deployee sent by the ANC to represent it as a mayor of Greater GNU Municipality, Comrade Thandi Zita. Can you greet the audience? So you understand the posture. Yeah. We'll just keep on informing you here. Oh, Comrade, also I'm just being briefed that Comrade Sonia Ngoweni is here as one of my favorite deployees because she takes elections very serious. I've worked with her when she was a convener of deployees here. Yes, please. Wait. Come, let's stick to 3 minutes. We only allow the youth league to go beyond 3 minutes. Young and reckless. Thank you.
Amandla, 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 Viva ANC, Viva, Viva ANC Women's League, Viva, Viva ANC Youth League, Viva, Viva ANC Veterans League, Viva, Watinta Bafazi. Nakensa, comrade, Nakushoweta, ka the leadership of the REC, le rangeloku comrade Pule Shai. Ninga ribalu kushoweta ka PEC member ya ANC Women's League comrade Didodo. Comrade, ita nyika message of support iri ANC Women's League. Ikari ishtekela nhlokweni ku ANC it's under siege. Yima namuntlha ikhoma itingana leswi ANC ngele ku hlangana na swona ku ri hina timembara ta ANC hi khosa ku this division. Comrade a hi swi pfumeleleni aka ANC ku na nkarhi lowu hi nga ta pfumeleriwa ku nghena hi leader loko nkarhi wu nga pfumeli fane hi huma. ANC yi fane yi endla self introspection la hi nga yima kona. Comrade huma ka ti election leti nga tsakiseku leti mina na n'wina instead of going out ya tirhela nhlangano a hi tshama kaya hi ku ya betraying the ANC. Namuntlha swi nga endleka mina na n'wina hi langutisa ANC hi vona yi kha yi fa mara hi langutisini. Comrade a hi sukeleni ku ti lava ngopfu mara hi pfumela ku ri ANC a yi mahlweni yi leader. Hi ri ANC Women's League, we are ready to go all out to save the ANC. Comrade, not so long, our region, Norman Mashabane, will go to the regional conference. Comrade, I pfumeleleni ku faction tikona. We have our own preferences when we go to conference. But let us not allow our faction to destroy the ANC. The conference will still remain be member of ANC in good standing. But it has the moon. Comrade, I want to stand here to conscientize all of us, remember the ANC, what we are doing on the social media. We still want other comrades to come and join us. But our behavior that we are doing currently, even the member of the ANC. I ring it whatever we want, I ring it to control. Comrade, the Women's League, to go to conference, Comrade Pule Shayi, come back, be the chairperson. Amandla.
Thanks, Comrade Secretary, Comrade Zakani of the ANC Women's League. The task team, she's a coordinator. We've got only one message for you to go and deliver. Please bring back the aircon, the remote. Comrades, the next item to be rendered is the ANC Veterans League. These comrades are seasoned in our organizations. We owe our beings to them. They've been talking for a long time. They're not going to take long. If they greet you and go sit down, you must understand. Ne? Comrade Veterans League, that is here. Can you please come and represent us?
Amandla! Amandla! Viva the African National Congress, viva! Viva South Africa, Yama Communist, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva ANC Women's League, viva! Viva Young Lions, viva! Roar, Young Lions, roar! Comrades, I got deploy one more. We'll deploy the Comrade Mukari. I just received a message now that he's not feeling well. But so that's why I cannot more unprepared, so Maragata address and Scafella pay. Comrades, Nala Magaj, Lelaga third term. Now, are wishing Waramikai. Meanwhile, Emika, Oliver Tambo. What are running Warami? Let's come to Magoruba. Moranoba Lagan, Kiberegile, Kichwahule, Uberekile, Bukapa, Bupitori, Aberagala, South Africa Kamuk. So Bukon Wabunchang, Ariskabolata, Kargetaki Tutagatil, Ukitagatil, Mona Rubalana. Comrades. Amandla.
Namohaga Genemaga. I got to veterans. It loads a moyano. Caspitian and a fa. Yeah, it will have fa. Yatama. Comrades, I'm going to have a special request to comrades. Again, comrades, I know the capacity I wanted to do in Chagar. Comrades, let's say about the movement when there's a lecture, classroom, we don't concentrate. Arhono or Gatele Jarakushisha. Comrades, I know. Comrade Oliver spoke about the sacrifices. The sacrifice I'm going to ask you to do today in honor of Nelson Mandela. Even if you don't do, how many minutes? 67, Mandela. We deal again. Please stay where you are. But the time of the memorial lecture, comrades, let's sit because that's what we are here for. Again, the message of support. Let's sit, less movement. So, comrades, we are getting into that item. Comrades, the person who's going to introduce the keynote speaker is one of my generations. Comrade Dagma, deployed to Letaba as a mayor. But over and above that, before you become a mayor, you must have been tested in the movement. Because ba bang le khono ba e senya. Mi so ko bolelang ka ena mo utse ba nthela ba reng ke motšhini bana. La o tswa motšhini. Ha o tshwere ka se motšhiele ke a le botša. Because o tseba go berekisha. And he's just the deputy secretary of the region. Comrades, this guy's been around, he's been a sub-regional secretary of Letaba. He has served with us in the movement of our youth. He's no stranger to us. This is Comrade Dagmar, the deputy secretary of the region, an incoming official. An incoming official. Agar, decide. We only have one face. We've got the face. The face is only Pule Shai. Agar, he's a disciplined cadre of this movement. He's ready to be deployed in any position. Away to Amanda! Away to Amanda! Away to long live comrade Tago, long live! Long live Maruleng, long live! Long live Maruleng, long live! Ishaile! Ishaile! Bye-bye! Ishaile! Bye-bye! Long live comrade Tago, long live! Long live comrade Tago Musula, long live! Long live comrade Tago Musula, long live! Amanda! Kiatsiba, ki bone message e ke tswa ka mo. Ba bang ba le na le report lor Maruleng a e go mo. Tšea message o wa lena. Le ba botsa ba fihlile. The commander-in-chief of Maruleng is here. We must support them. Stand them. Le babuche, ki receive a message. War Maruleng is not here. Reverse a message you organivial. Comrade Tego is here. Amanda, Maruleng is here. Ichaile to Ichaile. Ichaile to Ichaile. Ichaile to Ichaile. Amanda. Comrades, let me invite Comrade Dagmar to come render the introduction of the keynote speaker. Amanda, let's have a hot revolutionary song for this incoming REC official. Please, comrades.
Inze malendlela Amanda. Amanda. I rule ANC, I rule.
Sorry, comrades, to disturb comrades. I did a dishonor and disservice. We have just been joined again and been graced by an incoming official from Maruleng sub-region, Comrade Tseko Mosola. Amanda!
Amandla. Amandla. Long live the ANC, long live. Viva President Ramaphosa, viva. Viva the Provincial Secretary Ruben Madadze, viva. Viva the Regional Chair Comrade Pule Shai, viva. Viva the SACP, viva. Long live Kosato, long live. Roll the young lions, roll. Watinta Bafazi. Ke a o leboha the chairperson of the sub-region of Ba-Phalaborwa, Comrade Mahira Masugwamen, and the entire leadership of the sub-region. Let me take this opportunity and greet my fellow REC members who are here, the leadership of the sub-regions from different 5 sub-regions that are here, the leadership of COSATO, the leadership of the Veterans League, the leadership of the ANC Youth League at the level of the province, led by Comrade Oliver, the leadership of the ANC Women's League, that is here also, all our branches that are coming from different sub-regions in the region, receive our greetings, comrades. Comrades, I'm called to introduce a speaker who will talk to us in terms of the politics of the ANC, relate to the contributions of Nelson Mandela, but equally talk to the issues that are in governance that relate to the outcome of the national elections and the programs that the government has decided to take. This leader has led structures of the movement. I will not speak much about that. But there is something that I want you to carry on when you leave to your branches, comrades. He's a leader who has united this particular region of Norman Mashabane. Every corner where I go, I say, there's been leaders before, but there's only one character that they did not have. The character of uniting your own comrades. But equally being selfless in whatever what he does. And that is the reason why some of us, it was very simple for us to identify ourselves with him. But comrades, those who are opposed to his own views, they decided to show us that they lack organizational discipline, but equally understanding how this movement, it is run. When I sat with him and I've asked him a simple question, are you available to go and serve on a 3rd term to become the regional chair again? And the simple question he says, if the deputy regional chairperson is available, I'm not available. Yes. He said when the deputy regional chair, when he's available, I'm not available. And we started to see something here where it was too sinister, comrades. When the deputy regional secretary wants to move from the position of the deputy regional secretary to become the chairperson. And we start to understand that there is something wrong with Norman Mashabane region. Because in principle, the deputy regional chair should ascend the stage so that those who says the dancer has been there for too long, the second dancer can able to take the stage. Now in our case, it's different, comrades. And now that is something that I want you to carry as when you are moving home, comrades. To say in principle, the second dancer should be able to ascend the stage, but the second dancer is not available. And that is the reason why a clarion call has been taken to all our branches to say, want to call upon Comrade Pule Shai to come and lead this particular region for the third term, comrades. Let me take this an opportunity and invite him to come to the stage. Sure.
Amandla. Away, two. Mandela tai hlome. Mandela tai hlome hlasele. O se aya. O se zwelo saka wenta. Mandela tai hlome. Mandela tai hlome hlasele. O se aya. O se zwelo saka wenta. O se sulu tai hlome. O se solo tai hlome hlasele. O se aya. O se zwelo saka. Amandla. Away, two. Amandla. Away, two. Long live the undying spirit of Comrade Nelson Mandela. Long live. Ripilele Nelson Mandela. Ripilele. Long live the martyrdom of Comrade Nelson Mandela. Long live. Long live the undying spirit of Comrade Nelson Mandela. Long live. Eita President Mandela. Eita. Hola, holy Tata Mandela, hola. Mandla. Away, two. Long live the Revolutionary Alliance, long live. Long live the ANC, long live. Long live the Communist Party, long live. Long live Kosatu, long live. Long live Sanko, long live. Long live President Ramaphosa, long live. Ripilele, Buffalo Soldier, Ripilele. Ripilele, Matamela Ramaphosa, Ripilele. Mandla. Away, two. Long live the Progressive Youth Alliance, long live. Long live the ANC Youth League, long live. Zoitola kanjani. Uhlele khoneni. Ulele mbedweni. Uhamba uyedwa. Mandla. Away, two. Long live the YCL of South Africa, long live. Jigijela of Asimba, Jigijela. Eita, kosas, eita. Hola, Sasko, hola. Mandla. Long live the ANC Women's League, long live. Watinti bafazi. Uzogufa. Molo makelwani, molo. Mandla. Long live the Veterans League, long live. Long live the Veterans League, long live. Mandla. Phambili ngama volunteers of the ANC, phambili. Phambili with the unity of the movement, phambili. Pele ka unity ANC, pele. Mandla. Away, two. Oye, Frelimo, oye. Danke siyabonga comrades. Dangi siyabonga. Comrades, ke gopela go tlamiša Comrade Mahira Masukwameng, modulasetulo wa sub-region ya gešo ya African National Congress, mo Ba-Phalaborwa sub-region, together with Comrade Victor and your sub-REC collective. Comrade Dagmar Mamanyua, Comrade Dagmar Mamanyua, and those you were serving with in the previous REC, I see them here. I register my greetings to you and my respect. I want to acknowledge the leadership of Comrade Mchabiseki, Oliver Mabunda Mhlabi, the Provincial Secretary of the ANC Youth League, together with the Regional Chair of the ANC Youth League here, Norman Mashabane, Comrade Joe Ramatsi, Comrade Tavang, and your collective. That will also include the leagues of the ANC, particularly the Youth League across our sub-regions. Comrade Tsakani, the Regional Secretary of the ANC Women's League, and all formations of the ANC Women's League across our sub-regions. I'm advised that the leadership of our sub-regions are also here, that Comrade Mashale and Comrade Nyiko are here from Guyana, that Comrade Mutumuholo and Comrade Reto are here, Comrade Grass Carter, Masilu Maloku, and Comrade George Mkavela are also here. I suspect, Comrade Seko, you are also bringing Comrade Martin and Mutlatlule to be part of the entire collectives. And to that extent, I respect this particular leadership. To the Revolutionary Alliance, Comrade Mlanzwa, Jonas Ngobeni, Comrade Gomagoma from Kosatu, Comrade Rastido, but most importantly, Comrade Nyepe Sono. Comrade Sono, as a veteran, when the sub-region of the ANC in Ba-Phalaborwa was disbanded, he was called upon to lead the ANC, and I was his coordinator at that particular level. But we spent most of our time in Sanku, here in Ba-Phalaborwa, when I was still the organizing secretary in 1998, 99, there. And we respect the leadership today as our guiding torch on behalf of the Veterans League. But most importantly, comrades, the leadership drawn from our branches across the entire region of Norman Mashabane. Ke gopela go letamisha mosegare wa Lekgonu mo Ba-Phalaborwa sub-region. Now, I've dedicated just 1 hour so that we don't keep yourself here in terms of my limited presentation. One, comrades, my preliminary remarks before I go into the substantive issues is that the national and provincial elections gave the ANC 40% of the total votes. And for the first time since the dawn of democracy, the ANC is no longer a dominant party in the body politics of South Africa. For the first time, we dipped below 50%, meaning we can't govern alone. That is a fact. And that's what the people of South Africa have said. Something which, even if we had a sense that it could happen, we never imagined we could dip this much. And therefore, you are now in the current context speaking about coalition, government of national unity, the matters I will come back to speak to. because the ANC has chosen the government of national unity route. Now, these things, comrades, are happening at the time when 40% of the world population is also engaging in elections in 50 countries. So, asirina le nosh mo gae le baizana gon le fase le ka mga lona go pisi ba ya dikgetho. It's only 60% that is not going to elections, but 50 countries across the whole world is going to elections. Therefore, South Africa, governed by the ANC for 30 years, it's now under government of national unity. This is serious, and I'm emphasizing this. If you go to India, the Hindu nationalist Narendra Modi has been leading India for 10 years. He just won elections. He is going to government for a third term. I don't know about those things. If you go to the United Kingdom, comrades, the Labour Party has routed the Conservative Party, this time by a 2/3 majority. Labour Party was swallowed for many years. We thought it would never even rise, but here they are today. If you go to Brazil and talk about Lula da Silva, he was even incarcerated, and some conservative government took over at that level. Today, Lula is back in power. We will contextualize this thing when we speak about the government of national unity and the prospect of the ANC to rise from the ashes. Now, this government of national unity, comrades, is taking place during Nelson Mandela month. And the United Nations has adequately declared the 18th of July and this month in particular as International Day for Nelson Mandela, where all of us across the globe annually for 67 minutes we become of service to humanity. In different ways, we have to do certain activities to uplift the conditions of our people. So the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC has directed, I remember this because I was still in the REC. It has directed all the structures of the ANC to engage in build-up activities, but also on the actual day, begin implementation of programs that will impact on society. Now, the sub-region of the ANC in Ba-Phalaborwa has effectively responded to that particular call. And we are convening this afternoon to purely lay a basis for activities across the region in the name of Nelson Mandela. So when you go to your sub-regions, your branches, your communities, comrades, we have laid a firm foundation here in Ba-Phalaborwa, led by Comrade Mahira and the rest of you. So, this is not a factional meeting, comrades. Lena ba gore remember ANC di ska kopana ka baka la gore dilo ja gona di o khatlonya ka ge di khatla wena o tlo tswa di sho le ntsedi. On the same day, comrades, at 18, the president will also be presenting the State of the Nation address, and we will effectively follow suit in the context of the work that the provincial government must be able to do and the rest of us. No, I'm just in introductions, comrade. 3, you know, comrades, the term of office for the Regional Executive Committee came to an end on the 21st of June 2024. And we said as that REC, we developed a roadmap, including subcommittees. We presented to the officials. The officials had their own PC meeting. I am not the spokesperson of the ANC in the province. It will clarify itself through a media statement and others. So, nna ke nyaka go le bolelela. The one thing that I know is that I have picked the spokesperson submitting that the REC has been dissolved. Not disbanded, dissolved. And then the ANC has capacity to clarify the next step from there. What I know is that branches of the ANC are here, and as long as there are branches of the ANC will never die, despite dissolutions and many other things. But most importantly, comrade, is that my own personal conviction is that it is possible to unite branches of the ANC and its members in the context of renewal. It's possible. Youth League since 1995, Ba-Phalaborwa. Comrade Nyepe will tell you. The politics of the sub-region has always been a contestation from this one group to the other. All of us grew in that particular environment, leading the ANC, but also later deposited our leadership into the ANC. But those things continued to hold. You needed to clarify a posture as leadership that until when will we continue with this particular trajectory? When we went to a hybrid conference during COVID at Karibu, 2021, for the first time this sub-region was united across all of them. Now, that to some of us became a case study. What has actually led to the convergence of all forces in these sub-regions, despite the contradictions that might be existing? And we said we will use that case study to learn, but also use it to contribute to the unity of the region. That is why our simple message, comrade, is that when you go to your regional conference, it is possible that all sub-regions can unite despite your contradictions. You are not doing it for factional purposes. The ANC must still survive and live immediately after all of us has left the stage. And it is only that can guarantee ourselves that the ANC will be there. Our major conditions we just come to South Africa now. The people of South Africa are forcing us to unite internally as the ANC. Bari bone gore re alwa ka ANC a re khutse le go khutsa ba re fa 40%. If you comrades still want to kill the ANC, this condition is not different from family ya Shai or bana ba 8. A sister and a brother. They have been fighting for a very long time. They are sworn enemies. It is known everywhere else. Or ba aba kopane ba. Until go tsana tau e thoma go ja family ka one by one. E ba thoma go pusha re bele e tla ga bona. The condition forces them to unite. Not only for their survival, but also for the identity ya lapa la ga Shai. So the people of South Africa are renewing us from outside, comrades, to say unite, not for your sake, but for the sake of the poor people of South Africa. So as we proceed with this particular presentation, let's proceed along those particular convictions, comrades. We had a successful hybrid conference, the only regional conference in 2021 in the entire country, which was addressed by the president of the ANC. It has never happened. And in our successive work, we submitted to the ANC that this region will become the epitome of renewal, both in character and work. And therefore, we have an opportunity as we gravitate towards the regional conference to do that particular work. Now I'm coming back to my presentation. I'm going to take a simple approach, comrades. Because the leadership of the sub-region said you must speak on Nelson Mandela and his role in society, the movement, but also bring in the issues of government of national unity, in particular their impact. Now, you will not. Yeah, let's welcome Comrade Blantina, and the leadership of the ANC Youth League. Comrade Blantina, Sago, Comrade Blantina had media meeting with the official Tagare. Well, dissolve, well, what correct no. That was on a lighter note, comrades. Now, my presentation, comrade, I'm going to situate the role of Nelson Mandela and his leadership in the context of the government of national unity and his contribution to the struggle of freedom and liberation of the people of South Africa. And then two, for me to be able to speak around the implication, I will therefore want to profile the historical evolution of the government of national unity in the context of the coalitions that has been a precursor to the government of national unity, but then close on the implication and perhaps say to all of us that what is it that we can do as the movement? And therefore, you will have part one where I will speak on Nelson Mandela and later on spend a lot of time speaking about the government of national unity. Firstly, there are facts about Mandela which I will not say here. You can go and read those facts by yourself. That Nelson Mandela is the eldest son of the Tembu chief, is from the royal family. I can't tell you those things. That the name Nelson was given by his teacher because schools at that time was located within the missionary education, and therefore you needed to get a biblical name so that the teachers can simply address you. Le maina lena ge lujimo le ga shumisa maina sekgowa maina lena mantšhimo le a topile bibeleng e bila a fapana o ka kra kana maragole go na le bo Mike ba 15 because ne ba le tšhušetša maina gore ba kgone go le identify ge le tla sekolong. So effectively we later abandoned even our cultural names, ra adopta ona. La dagma ke le tsebe ka ra Bible le tlo nthuša re tswa le kae. But I can only pick 3 areas, Nelson Mandela, which I want to use to locate his contribution, but also to agitate for a particular posture in the current epoch. Nelson Mandela, in the context of the Youth League struggle. Firstly, he led the formation of the ANC Youth League. In the provincial Youth League structure and later in 1944, leading that together with Oliver Tambo, they agitated for the renewal of the ANC. At that time, the ANC was battered. The ANC was moribund. The ANC was suffocating. The ANC was effectively dead at that particular time. It took the bravery of young people in the ANC, both Nelson Mandela, bo Walter Sisulu, Oliver Tambo, bo Congress Mbata, bo Mkolisi Majombosi, bo AP Mda, bo David Tibopa, Wilson Konko, and many others to say, we have an opportunity to renew the ANC. And the only way to renew the ANC is through a program of action. You will never renew the ANC or keep the ANC together unless you have a program of action that is alive to the conditions of our people and it is implementable. And you can only get the unity of all forces during the implementation of the program. Lena go di branch ni kwa ale sa dira le program le no tsoga la emela BEC ba Ronald conference. You will never unite members of the ANC Because members of the ANC are drawn closer by a program of action. You are able to know gore ntate yo o na le problems go gae maloba o phejiso ge o mmona programming o thoma bona situation ya ge. So rena a re sa nyaka o ba selo a re nyake le go tseba no bitla fela now we want to live properly in the name of Nelson Mandela. If you lead structures of the movement, whether the leaks, but the ANC proper, a program of action is very effective. And when you have consolidated that discourse, you have spoken about it sufficiently, I can tell you, it's premised on principle. You can defend it whether urovech uba utsugile. Because you would have lobbied the program to the structures of the ANC and society, and it would have been accepted. And once it is accepted, so Nelson Mandela revived the ANC through a program of action together with other young people. And a program of action, comrades, once you have selfish interest, you will never survive your selfish interest. They were there. Alfred Bikini Kuma, who was the president of the ANC at that time when the ANC was going to a conference every year, was presented with this program. And Albert Bikini Kuma looked at the young people and said, they went on, pushed militarily, but the president of the ANC refused. And then that's when they resolved, if this is the case, it means this president is anti-renewal of the movement. We can as well go and lobby for others to lead the ANC. Because I want to win any condition ever go wrong. They went out, they looked for people. I'm told they get one, James Moroka, Dr. James Moroka. James Moroka, James, come to my tomo while the funeral palo of Travaso. Koso we tokwa, ke na thomile go diloche. Yo James Moroka yo. James Moroka, o ba le ka ra di transitional government, jela ja ibiwa ke mmusho wa tla ulele. Yo James yo later on. James Youth League came approach her, and they said, look, we have a program of action. We're trying to militarize, radicalize the ANC, but this leadership is not on. James until on the last day he agreed. Well, he was more into civil society. He was known there as a respected leader. That is why it was easy for him in the ANC. Like join a day, a conference, he was able to be elected as the president. And I'm thinking that was the biggest mistake. Because he not join a president in the movement. Maybe because it was repeated in other instances somewhere else. Nelson Mandela, his tertiary education was through correspondences. Our 99 university so correspondence. BA le molao o direla correspondence le UNISA. So renaga democracy, if we were to reflect on the contribution of Mandela and we elevate education, can I go democracy when there are institutions of higher learning, when some of them are even closer to us, TVET everywhere else? No, we should be able to zoom into what are the conditions that makes education not accessible to our poor people in the rural hinterland and everywhere else. Agree these young people have TVET, but when you get rent, but when you get the school fees, all those things, those should be the conditions we should be able to address. Because what they must begin to focus on is what you refer to as the fourth industrial revolution. No, comrades, technology, if you're not going to run very fast, that thing has become a factor of production.
bo wena le tšhelete o ya dimile bankeng aowa a di a felela go di bjale o shota IT technology because banka re ka dula ka mokana ra se ye absa ra tlogela banka FNB Capitec kua re gae ra kgona go processa tšhelete re gae ka technology if you use fintech re ka direlana di-e-wallet ra patalana dikoloto le ka moka ga tšona di-cooperatives ra re funda ra applya loan ka baka la technology comrades and young people must come into that space. If you go to Kenya there is a revolution around what you call M-Pesa. They send, they receive money, but they went a step further. E o nyaka loan o sa ya bankeng wa fihla wa re ke nna mang ba check credit history. Ba introduce ka mogare ga M-Pesa ntong wa re ke mshwari. Ka mora yona o apply loan di ga ya ba ya approviwa. Ke mga wa ya cooperating ya wa establish a business o sa etela le banka. Young people must come into that space in the name of Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, comrade, was an MK combatant, even an internationalist. He had ideas which he presented to the ANC around the formation of MK, but he refused until he had his way, because he had visualized the struggle for the liberation of our people, not only at that particular time, but even the current conditions. That is why, after given approval and we established MK, he led from the front, from training, from educating our people, but also contributing to international mobilization of support against the apartheid regime. We had a solid relationship with Russia, we had a solid relationship with Cuba. They supported us militarily, they supported us from a monetary front, and to that end, our struggle in South Africa is not complete without our friends across the world. And therefore, Nelson Mandela, as an internationalist, championed this particular solidarity. That is why today, the people of Palestine are very proud about the role the children of Nelson Mandela are playing in South Africa for their particular freedom. Nelson Mandela, ki ena yola ga ba le ko court kua ke ba mo sentence kana go ela court ne ba sentence hangpal. Yes, ba o ya ka court wa rotse ba gore mo le di judge je nga tswe ke phulugile. You are faced le thapo. And these comrades in the Rivonia trial, in the dock, together with others, they went there and they defied. They stood for the ideals which they believed in. That is why when he was being cross-examined, that was the time when his popular code came in, because that informed his attitude and posture towards the struggle. He said, and I wish to quote, "I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It's an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if need be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." At that time when it was not easy and fashionable. And he survived and he contributed to the struggle until today that we are able to enjoy the fruits of his commitment and sacrifices. Nelson Mandela provided leadership at the level of Robben Island, far away from the people. Rena re palla go provide leadership, rena le batho mo gausu le ideas tse dintsi for many years, until the struggle and the mobilization of the international community, the support of our people in the country, called for a renewed, a reinvigorated approach towards negotiations. That's why Nelson Mandela, when he was released, all of us were all over. But you see, a committed cadre, comrades, if you don't know, and I must share this with you, Nelson Mandela is accused of being a sellout, or he was negotiating without the mandate of the ANC at that particular time. Hey, le bjana sellout ka kudu. Le ka le sa tshwara program e serious. Le ka ra program ya function nyana sell out. Tšatši le lengwe ba go bona gore tšatši le lengwe ba go bona gore ba sell out. If you live with comrades and you are dedicated and you are committed to a struggle, there's going to be a time where the elements of trust will begin to fade. You will not trust each other. But if you believe in the struggle, you will know that those are temporary conjunctures. You can still be able to proceed going forward. Sell out. So Nelson Mandela, February, comrade this comrade, I was in grade 12, from 5, 1990. Bar Nelson Mandela watch. Agree about Nelson Mandela watch. South Africa. Wherever you are, if American Nelson Mandela area. Lost my chair. Everywhere. We thought Nelson Mandela. Hey, go skolong. My comrade SRC. Cheetah at that time. Mola Mapugwani Mola. Ivin Shai at that time. Yer Bancha Skolo. That's why Ratoma Mashishiman and Agriculture Makajo Navole Patu Ramagama from morning. Rachika Contira Ratarafella more Freedom Square. More Freedom Square. Can I go 5 so? Nelson Mandela our Retire Malabar address my company busy Narjama Shishimale. Relemugita Kamuraka 7, I wish you ever to Palagano river. Walker no Sergio Holimo. Iboeka Kukatela Milenge Telaka I will see Guso. In the name of Nelson Mandela. And I'm raising with you that throughout the leadership of Comrade Nelson Mandela, he imbibed the values that have sustained the ANC, MK, and everyone else during the struggle. Those values, comrades, are the values of humility. Mabona humility, comrade, our Shai. If more kota kui dila yona mean manifesta even under serious conditions. Meta enda leswi mazo dong atsamanga atlamusela in the context of struggle. Under all conditions, and I want this thing for the first time, you know, you comrades in the alliance, when you see us in the ANC, you think we are celebrities. I went to address a provincial conference ya Pop Crew last week, Mola Zanin. How I arrive, the comrades we greeted, and they are starting to take photos, some of them. And when they start taking photos, they say, no, come, Frelimo, come. And then someone, no, you can't come in. I want to take a photo with the celebrity. And I'm saying, hey, my daughter. What have we done now? So all the time when we make our small contributions in the revolution, we have turned into celebrities, comrades. Mao Zedong says, at all material time, you must never gravitate towards conceit. Conceit gore. Oska ukwa batho ba go reta ba go elevator o kwa ka re khane go wena hero wa fika o wela ka ra molaba le trepe e uwe wa kwa ka re khane go wena all the time remain humble. All the time the struggle will be pursued and be prosecuted with humility when you are disciplined. It was possible to fight and learn at the same time. And people thought these are serious contradictions. And these are part of the values that sustained the struggle of the ANC. Respect, solidarity. In the African culture, awu dingwana ngwan awu nangutini. Loko munhu avavisekeni awini la hansi awundluli. democracy is already fake. What do we say? Those are part of the evolutions of our own democracy. The values of selflessness, where you don't even think about yourself first, you think even about others. The values around collective work, where all of us you can only achieve when you are working together, even when you have differences. Where we learned the issues of solidarity. An injury to one is an injury to all. Kungaba bisekila niwa. Unwena antrana yena menubaleka na kusaiva shikinsha me. And when they are done with him, tomorrow they are coming for me. And at that time there will be no one to protect or defend me. I will be on my own. Therefore, the struggle needs solidarity. That is why we are in solidarity with the poor people of the world, so that we are able to change and give renewed hope to the struggle for emancipation of the oppressed people of the world. Loyalty is part of the values that Nelson Mandela espoused. Mingabi loyal ka munu unati mistake totala. Munu utami baisiza na loko minguranza. You must be loyal to the movement, loyal to the ANC and the struggle. After 7 days, you will be disappointed, comrades. No, the ANC has a plethora of examples about comrades we thought that they are upright, and today they've disappointed us. Some of them, there are statues in African countries. In Nigeria, there is a statue of one leader, because they never thought that this leader anga fambola landleleni. Bo mama nywa bona ba baisi je ko le tabakwa ba neima le sekolo ka morawali ne la moetapele yo mongwe a sa phela a sa tlhokofala. Hey, le khone o re bontsha spoko. If we say to them, go and change that name, it will be difficult. It will be difficult. Because loyalty to an individual, particularly in the struggle, it's a misstep in the revolution. Now, comrades, when we want to respect Nelson Mandela, let's go on the 18th with a lot of activities and begin to implement and help our people. That was part one of my presentation. Now, comrades, I want to deal with what they said I must deal with, the impact of the government of national unity. And I want to give a profile first so that you understand where we are. So that when we say, what is it that we should do? We should not be far away from what is the actual struggle in the context of the National Democratic Revolution. One, government of national unity in South Africa is not new, right? Another struggle government of national unity is not a new thing. It's not a new phenomenon in South Africa. It was there, comrades. Now, but before Novelabla Yona, kuna ntsongwani wa government of national unity. It is a coalition government. And then now we present that Easter coalition. Kulogmiti linkana maga government of national unity. Mitu sakuri. Ndaule hitirana na ini. Kornalogi kellaka ANC. Itibakuri. What is it that we must do to salvage the movement from this development? Comrades, coalition government, it's in the local government space. It is there. It is happening. If you don't know, comrades, kusukela 2000, logo local government, the municipality wayan atere hands coalition government. Ayo sungula 2021, logo moya KZN. Now Western Cape, these are our economic base. These are our harbors of economy. If you go to them in 2000, They have been with coalition for a very long time. Later on, here in Gauteng, where there are only 11 municipalities, 10 of them are under coalition. 10. Now, logoya KZN namunhla. Kuna 54 ya timasipala. 31 of them tila hansi ka coalition. If you go to the Western Cape, kuna 30 ya timasipala. 19 ya tona tila hansi ka coalition. Kwala kufuma ka DA. Namunhla loko hi vulavula so, kuna 89 ya timasipala ti hansi ka coalition. Ti-political parties va hlanganile va fambisa mfumo. But here is some features of the coalition government, comrades. In South Africa, there are 8 metros, big cities. Out of 8, 6 of them are under coalition government. And everywhere where there is coalition, you will find it is in the metro, but also it is in the urban centers, but also it's in the populous provinces. And these are our economic hub. Gauteng, KZN, and Western Cape. If you want to win elections, you must win them first. If you can't win them, now look more 74% those contributions is going to impact on you. Now, Namunhla, all the metros, except 2, they are under coalition government. Now, what are the implications that the coalition? Loko vanhu va nga mi nyikangi outright win as the ANC, like we are seeing. Xo sungula, there is instability in the municipality. Oh, you can give me an example. Ku ri ku na masipala wo famba kahle under coalition na wu kona. Timasipala ta coalition va cinca political leadership nkarhi lowu na nkarhi lowu a va tshembani. Ti-PMTs va cincana u nge ti imalekere so. Ene ko tala timeyara leti benefitaka I timeyara ta ti-small parties. Aljama kwala xo va na 1 vote ka council mara I meyara. Because lava n'wanyana lavakulu va koho lava a va lavi swona leswiya va lava ku nghena ka system va sungula swin'wanyana. So if you go to Gauteng, ekuruleni kusukela ku va na coalition va cince leadership 5 times. Wa mi ni byela ku ri nga fuka ku va na stability ka masipala va nga deliver services, it never happen. But number 2, comrades, coalition, the limitation ya kona i ku it will be difficult for you to adopt policies but also budget. Tshwane it's a nearest example here. Loko mi fanele mi adopta budget ka lwiwa va banana ti-face va hoxana ti-glass and everywhere else. As we speak, they are also struggling to adopt their budget. Ina ti-municipality to ka nga ri na coalition laniwa. Ndloreni. Now, if you go to coalition municipalities, nyimpi ya kona ya ku appointed senior managers, yes. Unge appoint mi ta boheka ku ri mi sungula mi fayetela swilo before mi appointa. A yi khale kwala ka metro n'wanyani kwala Joni kwala Gauteng. Van'wana va ku hina hi ta lavela CFO, tekani leswi n'wana swa tipolitika, speaker tekani hi ta lavela CFO. U lava ku endla yini ka budget and treasury? U lava ku yiva. U khome hi ndlala, u chawuke. Mara comrades, look, this thing is a like political party. It takes xiboho ka tafula i ku me love CFO ntsena. Swi vula ku ri inherent in that political party is corruption. A ku na xin'wanyani. Sweswi ni nga swi hleketa ni ri 1 ku loko no khoma laha ni ri 1 ku ta va individual gain. Mara loko political party yo ze ku me ni lava lexi. Ni lava ku va MMC wa finance ntsena. Then you must know ku ri ku duva corruption ala ka nhloko ya yena. A ka ha ri na vanhu. And this is what is happening in the metros where there are coalition government, comrades. Service delivery, that's where there are coalition government. Oh, what's one liar? city center ba heta 3 days unga rena mati le tla le bona rena ge re palla mo di pipe di pulugile mo re a zama mo Tshwane e palala ka gare ga city no water for 3 days ka baka la gore mmušo o palela ke o dula ke coalition ke sengana-ngana ba re ba tshwara mo ke tshware mo tshwara mo ke tshwara le dia di deal before mmušo o ka tšea diphetho. Now even those professionals who must plan ka ba plana ba re if we plan, okay, let me give you an example. If in Mopani we are planning about water project re a tshube re ofa a water project re a tseba project e fihlile kae in the coming year we are going to proceed with that project or if it community nje dingwe ke when you plan and how you get the resources mara in a coalition government the minister tša lena ge di nyaka go plana they can be disrupted by a mayor who was just elected yesterday or a say ihala but now ba tshama 5 years without water. If stands like a coalition government, comrades, if you don't know, the communities bear the brand of the coalition government. Tshwane, Nelson Mandela, yabo andile lungisa. Nelson Mandela Bay. Secretary of Virginia Maruling. Long live Mutlatrole, long live. Nelson Mandela Bay, where Comrade Andile Lungisa comes from, the NEC member of the ANC. At one time, because of the material conditions there, he was involved in some scuffles with some opposition parties, and he had to move one with a glass here, a jug of water. And there was a case. We went to a conference in 2022. If there's anyone who was in conference 2022, La Nazrek, he had there almost the whole day. Conference held at Ransom. Now look, we work at the elections, I ain't got a decision on that. We had to say the leadership will decide on it. And the leadership decided, it's in the NEC of the ANC. Conference of the ANC was disrupted because of the effect of a coalition government somewhere. Because our comrades can't allow the ANC to play second fiddle in an environment where we will need to use state power in favor of our people. So ever since, local government has been unstable, comrades. Kungwanyani, Kuala Limpopo, there are two. Loko milawa mera, mi mathosa, ungeti mila kusungula match so. Mkaka cancel, miku draw. Mi misama bako mi debate, draw. What do we do? No, we must toss. Pa mi vita, Shai dagma, grenari contestant, heads or tail. Kama mungwari head, mungwari tail. Kama observers, you come. Batswara. Dagma. Yeah, but the coin did not spin enough to give effect to a proper. When the coin landed, it moved in a cycle manner. We want the coin to locate itself here. The coalition government, comrades. Now, this phenomenon of coalition government was part of our considerations now. Before we talk of government nationalism, we spoke about coalition government. Now, let's then zoom into what we have currently. You know, comrades, this thing here, government of national unity, if was Televanu, and now is only to take the revolution, under the circumstances, what are the options that are viable for the movement, but also that can give a basis for us to still come back and reclaim? That's why local, those percentages, it's not la kuna kana government of national unity. He adopted approach yokari, which I will later speak to. Mara swele yusuboni in 2012. You know, look with ANC. 12. 2017. Later on, we adopted another successively. We said, and I want to find it strategy and tactics. It was talking about the motive forces. Across these cycles, the intertwining of black and white are beginning to fade. Let's go back to the strategy and tactics. Speaking about motive forces of the struggle, these are the ones that push and pull the struggle, that we will never do without them. If we want to realize the NDR, we can't afford to lose these ones. The rural masses, Africans in particular, the majority of them, those stratas and sectors. It says, across the cycle, the intertwining of black and white interests are beginning to take shape, and the past definition is beginning to fade. As this cycle intertwine and the currents across them flow into each other, so will the objectives of the NDR that will begin to reach maturity. Then, common interest will be forged across racial divide within various social classes and strata. Loko 30 years of democracy kari tumbuluka so, the interest tangwina, nitaba lungu and others, kisunguna kutakusuna kusu. Society le mela kui akaya non-racial, yisunguna kusunana, and loko sunguna ku endleka so, bari democracy na national democratic revolution, yakula mechuara. Now the question is, have we reached where the intertwining interests have converged to an interest that we can say the NDR has matured? We should be able to explore that in the movement, because this question is going to be very critical when we begin this next phase. Look, we sungula this thing here, Government of National Unity. 1994 to 1999, we were in a Government of National Unity, comrades. If you we were in a Government of National Unity because we developed an ANC document called ANC Strategic Perspective on Negotiations. We needed to appreciate the conditions that we were obtaining at that particular time, informed by history, so that we can take an option of how do we want to govern South Africa. Now, what were those conditions? And I want to relate these conditions so that later on I come to you and say, are these conditions that we are having today similar to the ones that which we had when we opted for a Government of National Unity in 1994 now? One, the ANC had the advantage over the apartheid regime. Advantage because all the pillars of the struggle was intensified and they have strengthened. And the important pillars at that time was high mass mobilization, which we saw in defiance of the apartheid regime. Our people were mobilized. When I was talking about 1990, it was that pillar of the struggle. So we had advantage because we had the poor people and the people on our side. That's the ANC. And our people who defy the apartheid government at that time, it was a plus. Even when Nelson Mandela was walking around, he knew that I have the people at my back. Two, and this located itself in the Release Mandela thing. And go Huma jealous also, the pressure was too big, both locally and internationally. The other advantage was that the world was united against apartheid. The sanctions had intensified, and the forward declared never bought an option than to succumb. But also, comrade veterans, the ANC ikote ku aka the underground work, bao builder as political leadership, le are ready to take over, but also proceed with armed struggle. So we're ready to even fight. It's BAM. Those were our advantages at that particular time. And these conditions, they were also, on the contrary, faced by limitations of the struggle. And what were those limitations? One, here in Southern Africa, there were changes that were coming in. And South Africa alone wouldn't have sustained the changes that were coming from the neighboring countries. Mugabe was under attack. If we needed to fight, we needed support from our neighbors. 1985, somewhere there, 88, Samora Machel was killed here in Mozambique. Lesotho, which is landlocked here, was the weakest. You had a monarchy here in Swaziland. When you want to fight and take an approach, you must make consideration. That is why what happens at the neighborhood, because handle the problem. Now look, orna party le kaya, mengaribalo kubita makhelwane. Because logo kalang ngubiti, sukulero subedaka, bangena through makhelwane. All the time, make sure you have a good relationship, cordial, with your neighbors. That's why, na logo makhelwane ay mga dirigate, ka funeral ya wena kutabana rito imakhelwane. Because that thing is contextualized within the struggle. It's not about me having lived here for 5 years. It's about the rooted culture of the struggle and our identity. But also, this thing, assess the forces around, as our neighbors, in the realization, armed struggle will not happen. We will not win. That's why the ANC had to denounce the armed struggle at that time. And Comrade Chris was not happy with that approach. But later, as a disciplined cadre, he accepted that, look, my movement has said this, and I can't undermine my movement. When people just undermine the ANC, they no longer care. Yeah, we have pocketed the ANC. But also, comrades, at that particular time, the international community, in South Africa, namfumo apartheid, kolota, aba move around multi-party democracy. Abanga afumeli one-party state, the international community. And because look, what that sanction come from alone, you were going to collapse, comrades. And therefore, the ANC needed to be alive to this particular situation. But the other limitation, comrades, in our consideration at that particular time, after unbanning all the political party unbanned, now the ANC was a legal organization. And when you are a legal organization, you must play ball. You must play by the rules. You can't do things outside which are reckless when you are now legitimate. But also, the ANC itself, when we were doing our own assessment, we realized that the infiltration inside the ANC was becoming even big. The counter-revolutionary tendencies. Maybe next year we're going to The reason why Nibanyika chance, this part is very important to understand this. Because I'm going to blame ANC. I'm going to join the EFF and MK. So, comrades, can you quickly deal with your situation, Yago Pagalamati? Now, thanks, comrades. Thanks, comrade. Can we now be orderly and we proceed? Bakunyika Mati, can we finish our work there? Leadership, use the outdoor so that we can give the comrades from outside. Shumishang the other entrance, yeah, use the other entrance. We're fine here. Go out and give those comrades the back. Outside. Umane handle mifamba so mingena nyangolwa. Now, comrades, I was still under the conditions which we were considering before Itakashi Bosha gore and the government of national unity or not. Alwa kumbe ahilwi na. Now, Adami Jeragore, inside the ANC, the counter-revolutionary forces, amongst our own self, they were sell out. We were beginning to sell leadership of the ANC. Chris Hardy was killed because of the internal wrangles, Tantlangano. Nana Muta were trying to find answers. But more than that, comrades, apartheid machinery, Abarna state control, Shasubam and other economic forces, you wouldn't have faced them at that particular time. So we had to consider a lot of options before we take a particular phenomenon. And at that time, we went into negotiations and we engaged in what we call CODESA. After we have looked at the material conditions. And in CODESA, our approach was very simple. And it's the same approach we are using now. We went into CODESA, we engaged with hardened Afrikaner leaders who wanted to kill at simple provocation. And that is why we began by consolidating a declaration of intent. Now, this GNU, in a statement of intent, you lock people who want to engage inside because of those principles. So that when you veer away, we know that we can prove the international community, or we are trying to go into transition, but now, these are the people. If we fight, don't come back to us. And the ANC appointed a team of negotiators. And the mandate of this team was to explore a broad political consensus amongst the parties which never worked together at that particular time. And the team was led by your own president, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa. So, we negotiated it was not fashionable. Well, under these conditions, what we only do is to bring history and memory and how we dealt with this thing. Uncha case study aviamu, or how do we navigate? That is why there were options which we considered at that time. 3 options, comrades. Before we took government national unity, there were 3 options. The first option was pursue the armed struggle and take over government. But those conditions could not give you that leverage. The second option was, let's go into protracted negotiations. We will combine that with mass action and international pressure. We will get what we want. We don't have to go into government now. That was the second option. The third and last option was, let's have swift negotiations with mass mobilization and international pressure, using the phase of transition to qualitatively source democratic breakthrough. And we will bring this through phases of the democratic revolution. But these things must happen very fast. And it was this option which we took that gave pressure, because we were also swift on the part of the ANC, preparing ourselves. We had to go through 5 phases of the democratic revolution at that particular time, but they had to happen very fast, because we could not afford to negotiate forever. And part of those phases, particularly your Hetelela, agri consolidation of the democratic transformation. And when we do that, we would have assessed the balance of forces in each phase, so that our work is not confused with the objective of the national liberation struggle. And therefore, negotiations was our way. And we opted for a government of national unity, with 5 phases in between. And in that government that started in 1994 to 1999, it was a transitional government of national unity. If you remember, there was an interim constitution which we needed to consolidate at that time, so that come 1999, we have a fully fledged constitution, and with the majority that we'll get from our people, we can run government and the state by ourselves. The NDR, comrade, the National Democratic Revolution, speaks to the transfer of political, economic, and social power to blacks in general and Africans in particular. It speaks to building a non-racial, a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous country. The Communist Party, when we have done all this work, even if it takes us 40 years, they will take over and they will lead us to socialism. We don't have a problem with that. But they must build it now in the party, that's socialism. Now, with all these phases, we went into a government of national unity. 1994, we went to elections. We did not get a 2/3 majority to govern on our own. Maybe if we got, we would have abandoned those things. We did not. And therefore, we had to transit from apartheid to democracy. When you go to the elections in 1994, you will realize that, one, all the parties that received the 10% threshold were the ones that constituted government of national unity. There were 193,000 spoiled papers at that particular time. Yes, I saw my vote appel. We're going for the first time. For the first time, we have been fighting for one man, one vote. They gave us opportunity. It was not easy. But yes, 193,000 spoiled papers. And then we had a mandate of an interim constitution. That is why the government of national unity, comrades, it's not easy. Are you still going to see issues here? We started 1994, 2 years down the line, 1996, the National Party withdrew from the government of national unity. They ran away. Because the heat was huge in the kitchen. At that time, the National Party was complaining that we want to join decision-making with the ANC. Which Zile was wanting, even now. And these are the issues which they are going to still run away from. They are there at that particular time. And this time we are bloody prepared for them. But over and over, in the transition, when we were doing the interim constitution, we also committed serious mistakes. We're still going to commit some, even during this GNU. We committed some during the transition in the name of GNU, we will commit some. And the biggest mistake we commit at that particular time was to abandon the RDP, the ANC RDP program. And we replaced that with GIA. And later as GISA with GIPSA. Now, GIA was saying first we must get the economy to grow. When the economy grows, we will be able to distribute the resources to the sectors which can bring job creations and other things. If the economy does not grow, we don't distribute anything. And because there was international pressure from the World Bank, the IMF, and government pushed this program into the ANC, we never discussed this thing in a conference, comrades. At that time, we were worried about wow, government is seeking ANC. I say ANC seeking leader government. We talked about these things. Talk about the RDP program now. It's no longer there. In the RDP, comrades, if you go and look into that particular document, there's going to be the state mines. There's going to be the state banks. There's going to be community banks. The cooperatives, they will be at the heart of them. Agasona utsoka Ba-Phalaborwa toropong ke yo depositela lekhomo 1,000 rand ya go reka tša go ja ke no tsoga mona mashimale ka banka ye nngwe e le gore mohlomong re bitša ka leina Khazamula Bank. Yes. Now we are only limited to few banks which are oligopolies. Entry into the banking industry is very difficult, comrades. Yeah, Mutsepe wa like a time bank and why revolutionize like a fintech. Mara ka RDP we abandoned those things to our community where we are staying. Our today we have to reverse the implications of GEAR. The ANC was sidelined at the level of government through our own limitation. Government of national unity. Now, let's come back to the current one. The conditions are different, comrades. One, we have 40% what we received from our people. We did not get a majority for the first time. We can't govern on our own. Now, what do you read from this? Maybe there is a growing political alienation from the political system itself. But participate in politics. No, bakarele. 30 years in China, they are already tired. Maybe that could be the reason. I don't know. You can do a research if you are at the level of academic institution. Or maybe the people are alienating themselves from the ANC with this 40%. What we have seen, it's a narrative throughout history that seeks to liquidate the ANC. And is beginning to take shape now. There are political parties which are formed just to kill the ANC. If they have that, they've achieved what they wanted. The EFF is one of them. We want to kill the ANC. From the start, they want to bring the ANC down. No, they were very happy. 40%. We achieved what we wanted. We have achieved what we wanted. Removing the ANC from power. But number two, comrades, if you want to weaken the liberation movement, there has to be proliferation of many political parties. And even NGOs must come and participate in the space. And ultimately, you must have independent people who also come alone and they want to take over. These things has been happening across the globe. No, let's not go very far. Go to Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda. The forces of multi-party did not defeat the national liberation movement there. because alone they stood as a political party. No, they converged, all of them. And they weakened the National Liberation Movement at that particular level. Today, many governments across the globe, particularly in Europe, there are coalitions there. If you go to Belgium, it's coalition. And the party, the dominant party in Belgium has been leading for many years. If you go to Ireland, the dominant political party has been leading for many years, whether it was Sinn Féin or King, many years. But they were collapsed by proliferation of many parties who later came together and removed them from power. In Brazil, it was the same. Our coalition, we are going to they've never recovered here. Eba thoma go lwa mo Lesotho ka 2015. Wa thoma coalition. After 2 years, the coalition collapsed. They went to a snap vote. After 2 years, it collapsed. They spent 5 years by vote. As we speak, they are in a coalition. So even here in South Africa, you started by having political parties coming, majority of them taking votes from the ANC. Democracy independent contest. Ranchal Mulao, yer. Watch your little Benny Maingani. Guru was the Roger so. Here we are coming debating the election. Hurrah! Hey, revolutionary tell of woman. Yes. Now you had all these parties beginning to eat from the ANC. The MK and the Independent now, they are the last row that contributed to the 40% that which we have. Yes. KZN. National Democratic Revolution. This could be tactical setback. But from a strategy point of view, our people must be brought into the space and we proceed to better their lives. The other thing, which is a condition different from at that time, is that one, the pillar mass mobilization community, we have abandoned it ourselves. I don't want to mobilize the community. Our community, what in Shayi knows, but Shayi, completely. But more than that, comrades, all big populous economic centers have either been lost or we have a reduced majority. KZN is one of them. The MK is the biggest party there. You know, Fambola, because Musho Tlile ba sa o lebelela. O ba tjata gore Shai o re tlogetse sa nagana. Bana ba krele Musho ba sa expect ba le. Mo Gauteng mo, we have a reduced majority here. Apa yasa wazama shem. Shumisa lenkani, mara we have a reduced majority here. Here. 30-something% will not sustain us. The economy is no longer in our hand. Western Cape, the economy is no longer in our hand. KZN, the economy, now the conditions now are that the economic hubs have been taken away from the ANC. The other condition is that we have a renewal program, which is moving very slow. Hey, Rakishiba to ANC, comrade, step aside and all those things. Yes, they contributed to where we are now as we speak. Whether correct or incorrect, but also renewal, moving very slow. Our people were saying, this ANC is not renewing itself. We have internal battles in the ANC. We have not healed. But from the ANC, we have not healed, comrades, and those things contributed. But more than that, comrades, the conditions internationally, they are also impacting on what is happening. In Europe, it's coalitions. The National Liberation Movement here in Africa, they are at the back foot. If you go to West Africa, in what we call ECOWAS, as an economic frontier, there are 3 countries that have withdrawn themselves from ECOWAS. And they are establishing the Sahel Economic Frontier. And these countries are Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, the military leaders. They are moving away. And when you make considerations here, you can't think you are alone in South Africa when there are changes across here. So the ANC had also options even this time. But before I speak about these options, because the ANC sat in Beechwood, in the NEC, and considered all these actions. Mabona ANC lokela ku taka xiboho comrades. Ku va na suspense la tikweni. The whole country comes to a standstill. They are waiting for the ANC as a leader of society to pronounce the way forward. Even political parties at the summit email ANC. What is the ANC saying? And we did not take long. Even during transition, 92 to 94, we did not take long to negotiate the GNU. No. In other countries, like Italy, they took 516 days to discuss coalition. But also, comrades, there are things which you must appreciate. When we went to conference, Comrade Musula, we said, 1, liberation movement do not outlive 30 years of them being in government. Now we're celebrating 30 years in government, 30 years in democracy, 30 years in democracy. That was the time when we were going down. Just like other liberation movements in Africa. But when we went to conference, we said, we are faced with existentialist problem. ANC, if we must take drastic steps. Maybe the reason why we still have 40% is because of how we responded. Are in the space, we can proceed with other programs. And these things are contained in Umrabulo. So we had 3 options again, comrades. Now, the first option was, we have 40%, let's go into the opposition, and then we will go in politics and come back. And we think a leading party and the state will hand over government. That was one option which we discussed. The second option, go into coalition parties, with parties that have sufficient threshold, DA, EFF, MK, and IFP. Or you go into a grand coalition with the 3 biggest parties that can give you a majority. So a coalition was an option for us at the level of the ANC. And then we said the EFF and MK wants to liquidate the ANC, and they want to use the black ticket to force us into a relationship so that they can finish us. We are not going there. And then we said, we will do what we do best. Because South African people want progress. And we must be seen to be leading in their name. And therefore we said, let's bring all political parties that have interest into one space, and we form a government of national unity. And we established a team to lead the engagement, led by Fikile Mbalula. And we adopted a particular approach, which later proved to be very fruitful to the movement. This team led by Mbalula, they were reporting to President Ramaphosa. The same way as President Ramaphosa led a team at that time, was reporting to Nelson Mandela. And Ramaphosa will make decisive interventions if negotiations seems to be going wayward. That is why he would come in and put Helen Zille and John Steenhuisen to say, boys and girls, chill. We are running here. And how we approached it was to say, let's develop a statement of intent. We bring all the other parties. And the document had 3 phases. We made them to first sign the first document, the statement of intent. After signing, committing, We brought the second one. If they go away now, we will still have the majority because the document is streamlined. And we took a lot of time engaging in the document of stand. And what we have, there were 17 versions, comrades. There were 17 meetings before we arrive at the document that which we have for genuine consensus and cooperation. And our approach was that where a political party was in a majority, let's allow that political party to form a government of national unity. We even went to Umkhonto-Wesizwe, MK. We said you are a majority in KZN. You must lead the discussions about government of national unity. They were ready. They were not ready. They were still asleep. The IFP went to them. They could not come. The IFP came back to Mbalula and said, these ones are not ready. We are proceeding. And we gave them blessing, proceed. They proceeded. We are now in government of provincial unity, there with the IFP and the DA. We gave them chance. And we said, in the provinces where we have a majority, there won't be government of provincial unity. We also gave Panyaza to lead the discussion because in Gauteng, we are a majority party. Where we don't have a majority in the province, we said, no, I love Kusungena, mitateka wina miwineke, kufana Limpopo. There will never be a government of provincial unity here. Renovia Popi, Gamho Ratao, Rabia Basco Makamuri, Emisilo Violette, Gamho Ratao, Rasova Swameta portfolio, Gamho Nyagaona, because the ANC Bushao. Now, what are the outcome of the GNU as we speak? One, there are 11 political parties that are part of the government of national unity, who have collectively signed. And all of them, collectively, they have 288 seats in the National Assembly out of 400. They constitute 70% of the National Assembly, more than a two-thirds. The ANC, in that 288, has 159 seats. And they account for 55% of the percentage of the government of national unity. These parties that have signed. Now, we did not get a majority to go to government alone. We manifested a majority in the government of national unity. So that anyone who wants to go away with our majority were able to dictate. Out of the 75 positions which we have given to the government of national unity, the ANC has 54 positions, and we exclude the president and the deputy president and the speaker. If we combine them, we have 57 out of 75. We have 20 ministers and 35 deputy ministers. Limpopo is the biggest beneficiary in terms of the ministers and deputy ministers, in line with our 74% contribution of electoral performance. What are the implications of going into government of national unity? Just 5 minutes, I'm done. One, as we speak, there is a Lekgotla. In the Exco Lekgotla, we meet the minister Rakgoale. They are the ones that must develop a program of government. That's why they will begin to pass budgets. And in the program of government, we have to ensure that the manifesto of the ANC find expressions. John Steenhuisen, we like Exco Lekgotla, actually manifesto, what DA, all the other parties, they have brought their manifestos. There has to be convergence of manifestos, comrades. Hey, the battle, kushu shulap. And worse, comrades, I will give you these contradictions. You have the Minister of Kokta, who is from IFP. You have the MEC of Koksta in the province, Baskop Magam, who is from the ANC. You go to Waterberg, a mayor there is DA. And now we want to talk about what local government must do in the context of the convergence of these manifestos. As we speak, the Minister of Kokta has a problem because the ANC believe in the district development model. The DA does not believe in district development model. So is the IFP. And the IFP is very warm, they don't have a problem, but they must win the DA. There has to be convergence. Because ultimately, there has to be practical way of dealing with the issues. That's why there are issues of alignment now as we speak. And our comrades will not sell us out at that level. 2, there has to be a national dialogue, which the president has spoken about, so that the people of South Africa are the ones that speak about these things. Currently, we have not gone back to the structures to brief them. Now we're only briefing you because you said we must come and talk to you. But importantly, comrades, Basonia, you comrades who are in government, there is going to be contradictions around the political, the professional bureaucracy. Mabana professional democracy, la ka mfumo, makhomko wana changes total ngofu. If we in the ANC are not smart, welcome the chair of my ruling. Ngangubela maboko comrades, Comrade Martin. Comrades, in the bureaucracy, there are going to be serious contradictions. Let me give you an example. The policy positions of the ANC, which must be implemented by this IFP minister, there's going to be a struggle there for implementation. But ngoemela ba ka mitiro, loko se hlangana la ba bangwanyane, ba sungula go bola meritocracy. This thing I'm going to implement, they are going to fight it so hard. But meritocracy. Also ask along. Our yoga experience, all these things, you will not get it. We're going to face serious battles along the professionalism, comrades. But more than that, the lexicon, your government, somebody that Fukeni tells us this thing. He says the lexicon in government department is going to change. Lexicon, Agrela bonan nakumala maspaleng executive mayor gitoji tabomagabang. Tabomagabang gelo komla ANC. Libu faith gidi PA. Na gwengo ba cheka uri na gitakejo go gwadile na. Tabomagabang are a chief. I run na chief. Are a leadership, are a general. A combatant. Awa ogawa muja ministera wa kokta Thavisa or chief. Yo. Ogawa muja minister of agriculture John Stein is a general. You are going to toe the line. You're going to be professional in how you speak and how you conduct yourself. Agrimo ANC retelela ni rabaranya go collapse ali muja na beng. Leo thoma go change attitude to conduct. Get implication makom. And make no mistake, these ones who are leading ministries from the opposition, they are not going to bring something new. Yo mongwe go police o shetse a thomile o tisa le jengwa ka gana ke jeliswa se jeliswa ke la mola a detention re jela na re a di tseba. But the ANC has to adapt to ensure that these people to appropriate our program as their own. The same way as with Julius DA, they were appropriating Chris Hani and Nelson Mandela to remove him from the national liberation struggle. But we are no longer the ANC of Nelson Mandela and Chris Hani. We should be able to fight this in government. They will never have a new program. It's ours. The only thing will be to fast-track implementation. Jabo Gaten McKenzie. Omolo mo to get a chance. Or over frustration in society. The other implication, comrade, is that they are going to use the GNU as a groundswell to take over local government. So, Reina, we have an opportunity to prepare for local government now. But about Shumisha National Department, the minister, who demobilize about but Rena DA, voting for local government. Therefore, the ANC must be smart when it looks into the current phase, the tactics that we must employ to appreciate or we have local government in 2 years. And we must start now. Happy local government comrades. You are still going to fight in the communities. You are going to disrupt communities. ANC is under attack. We must manage our own internal challenges so that we emerge very stronger when we go to local government election. The other challenge It's our capacity to reclaim national government. Now, what does that mean? We had 30 years, we have new conditions. Lula de Silva was able to do this thing. Lerena, Subalale Swago, we must go back to our own communities and begin to unite with our communities so that we can be able to bring the ANC back over 50% in the subsequent elections that are coming. We must intensify renewal because the people have said to us, you can be able to do these things. We must never abandon the revolutionary alliance politics because they are a key in the current epoch, but also consolidation and deepen the national democratic struggle. What we are going to see in the government of national unity is prioritization of the politics of expediency more than principle. Yo mongwe le yo mongwe o yo lwela dilo tsa ge di selfish fela ka di-political party. Ba lebala gore batho ba borena ba nyaka 1, 2, 3, 4. So when we rise here, comrades, you must know that we have an obligation to ensure that we strengthen the ANC, we go and unite with the people, we close rank within the movement, but also we support government effort to ensure that we are stronger using the state power to have the level of balance with our people. Then we usher ourselves into the local government space. If we do that, comrades, we will be following in the footsteps of Nelson Mandela. We will be proving correct under the current condition that you are a generation that can be able to sustain the struggle for generations to come to effectively take over. Amanda! Inkosi.
Luena, Molo, dear, 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 dear.